You're listening to the Clutter Fairy Weekly, a weekly webcast and podcast brought to you by the Clutter Fairy in Houston, Texas. If you'd like to participate in one of our live webcasts, please visit cfhou.com/weekly. You'll find a calendar of upcoming webcasts, as well as instructions for joining the Zoom meeting via the app or by phone. We'd love to see you. That URL again is cfhou.com/weekly. Now here's the weekly episode. Enjoy.
Hi, Clutter Fairy fans. This is the Clutter Fairy Weekly for February 10th, 2026. I'm your co-host, Ed Gumnick, and I'm speaking with Gayle Goddard, certified professional organizer and owner of the Clutter Fairy in Houston, Texas.
Hello, everybody. The Clutter Fairy Weekly is the webcast and podcast that digs deep into the clutter that piles up between you and the life that you want to be living. We explore the habits and behaviors that lead to clutter, and we suggest strategies to slow the accumulation, reduce the collection, and comfortably manage the stuff we decide to keep.
If you're new to our Zoom meeting, we want to let you know that you can share your comments and questions via the chat, and I'll try to make sure Gayle addresses them before we move on to another topic. You can also use the raise hand feature if you'd like to ask a question or make a comment yourself via audio or video. And we are streaming the webcast live on Facebook, so you can share your comments and questions there, and I'll relay them to Gayle. We're going to start by talking about our weekly tittle from 2 weeks ago, which was called Breaking Down a Barrier. The assignment was to identify, clarify, and break down a barrier to entry in your decluttering or organizing process. Let's hear from our participants in Zoom and on Facebook. Who identified and broke down a barrier to starting or continuing a project this week, or over the last 2 weeks, as the case may be? Please let us know in the comments. YouTube viewer Amy shared a breakthrough she's experienced in a comment on our last video. Amy writes, I recently discarded small childhood objects that I suddenly realized had brought up not fond yearning, but regret and guilt over the unfinished business of really building deep relationships with my sibs, which I have actually accepted, though not with satisfying understanding. The discard relieved me of the prick of hypocrisy I'd felt for years when I'd hold the objects and only partly succeed in recreating feelings that I'll never know were real, along with a false intention of picking up the threads and making something whole of them someday in quotation marks. Somehow the discard released the real history and the real people from my self-serving fantasy into the light of day where something more genuine might grow.
Thanks for sharing that relation, Amy. It really illustrates how we can anchor such strong feelings to objects and how those anchors can keep us from evolving those feelings. It sounds like you've let go of a fantasy about your relationship with your siblings and also let go of the guilt that you've associated with how the relationship should be or should have been maybe at the time. And now you can explore those relationships with the people you all are now and make a connection based on where you are now, like who the people you are now. No matter what happens, giving up things that bring up guilt and regret can only improve your own enjoyment of your own home. And so I congratulate you on the emotional shift you've made there. And you're really recognizing the object's part in your feelings and your ability to evolve your relationships going forward. So best of luck to you. And as you move forward on this project, I hope that you find some new experience with your siblings that you haven't had in the past.
I loved Amy's comment. I think what you said is great about the strong feelings that we attach to objects and how it keeps us anchored in old feelings as opposed to giving them a chance to evolve, as you mentioned.
Really getting them stuck there.
Yeah. Let's see what we've got in our comments.
Hi, Liz's puppy.
Shout out to Diane, who's here for the first time in a while in the live show.
Hi, Diane.
Jacqueline says, I've been working on a massive digital photo sorting, organizing, and decluttering project.
Ooh.
Phase 1 is complete, which are all the photos from 2015 to now that are in my iCloud storage. They've all been organized into searchable folders. I'm working on stage 2, which are photos from 2015 and older that are stored on an external hard drive. Those photos I'm working on getting uploaded into my iCloud as well, so everything has a cloud-based backup. I guess
Mm.
stage three will be paper photos if I ever get there. I am feeling really good about the progress I've made so far.
I cannot imagine the hundreds of hours that you've been working on that. Like that is the kind of project that takes forever and a day. And so congratulations on sticking with it so hard and really, getting yourself through like 10 years of photographs is a lot of photographs. That's a lot. So I'm sure you've spent hundreds of hours at this point. So you are very dedicated to the project. I'm proud of you for having hung in that hard and good for you.
Deborah says, I moved this week, tossed
Oh,
quite a bit of stuff. I'm dying to hear more. She says, I got a terrible cold during the process, though.
mm.
Now I'm setting things in place and looking for more things to go.
That's great, Deborah. I'm sorry that you got sick, but I'm not surprised that getting ready for a move, you use so much energy and you're trying to do so much extra from your normal life, and everybody gets strung out and they get overtired and they get exposed. And I'm not surprised that you got sick. I'm sorry. It's also winter, so I'm sure you're doing some of this in cold weather right now too, which is not helping. Well, feel better soon, and I hope that the unpacking goes smoothly.
Laura says, I sat my husband down and we had a real come to Jesus about when he says, we need to organize X, that he is part of we. It was a long talk.
Like he's not, we're not talking about the universal we. We're not talking about
Right.
the royal we here.
Hmm.
Yeah. Oh, good for you. I'm glad that you did it and you didn't do it while you were trying to do the project, right? You did it as a separate conversation. Like it's all well and good for you to set tasks for me to do, bra, but I don't have to take them on. So good for you. Y'all are a team. You both share the house. If he wants to organize, he can participate. And I'm glad you asked for that because that is an appropriate response.
Um, M says in response to Jacqueline's photo project, I'm working on the same project, but discovered bunches of corrupted photos and drives that can't be read. Ugh.
Oh, that's not good. If they're super important, you might be able to take them to somebody that works with digital media, and they might be able to recover some. But I don't know how much money something like that would cost.
Yeah.
Bummer.
Um, that's a shame. Johanna says I had to upload 35,000 pictures to iCloud in full panic mode last week.
Ooh,
It took forever and a lot of my nerves. I bow my head to your achievement.
right? 35,000 photos in a hurry. That does not sound like
Oof.
fun. Wow. Well, I'm glad you got through it, and I hope that you feel comfortable and calm now, like you're not in a panic anymore. Let's just go with that. Oh,
May says a big positive out of this last massive snow is using and ridding my home of pantry food. From now on, I will buy what I will be using for a planned meal.
there you go. You don't have to have 400 million things in your pantry. It's okay. And you realize, you eventually the snow will go away and you can go back to the store again. It won't be, you can survive, right? Good for you. That's a good thing to notice. And it means that there's less to manage and you have less waste. That is one of the ways that people waste their money is like they buy a whole bunch of stuff a pantry full, and then they forget to get in there. And so they end up throwing out stuff later that's, way too old and unsafe to eat when they finally get to it. So good for you. That's a good plan.
Ginger said, I refuse to buy iCloud storage, so I keep my inventory clean. I get that. Every
It
every
forces you to manage
subscription that you add is another monthly fee till
more chipping
the
away.
end of time,
Yes,
seems like.
which is what they
So
want, right? They
right.
want you paying until you're dead. 100%.
No, they want you paying not only until you're dead, but until months later when someone realizes
You're still paying
that
even
the
though you're
money is still
dead.
coming out, right?
Yeah. 100%.
One more comment, then we'll
Uh,
go on. Sue says, I don't store bulky toilet rolls anymore. That's what supermarkets are for.
there you go. Exactly. That is exactly what supermarkets are for.
I'd love to talk more about the pantry, but we'll save that for an upcoming
A
show.
pantry day.
Yeah, because we've been working really hard on trying to get our pantry under control. We moved a whole lot of stuff, and then I've told on myself in recent weeks about finding, I don't know, 4 jars of expired mustard, something like that. Anyway, we'll talk more about pantries soon, but
Yeah.
let's go on to our main topic for today.
Okay.
As you work toward your organizing goals, it's important to set yourself up to succeed by creating a supportive environment. A key condition for success is having the right tools and supplies at your disposal. Today, Gayle is going to offer guidance for assembling an organizing toolkit so you'll be equipped to face nearly any clutter challenge that may arise.
First, I want to say thanks to all of you for giving me last week away from the show. I worked as part of a team for an organizer friend from Dallas whose parents actually live in Houston. I'm not naming her openly to respect her parents' privacy, but I can call out the other people I worked with on the team. Friends of mine from the Naples Houston chapter, Ellen DeLapp, whose business is professionalorganizer.com, which tells you how long she's been in business, that her website is professionalorganizer.com. Mary Jo Cantello of Organized by MJ, and Amy Haskew of Renegade Organizing. Between the 5 of us, we got a 2,000 square foot high-rise apartment unpacked and set up in 3 days. We're each owners of our own businesses, so we hardly ever get to work together on a job. But when we do get to team up, it's so much fun for all of us just to work with each other on a project and to organize as a team. We spread out all over the house like locusts, emptying boxes and stashing things away so it all looked intentional and lovely by the end. Like I said, it's so satisfying and so much fun to do it with friends. So thanks for letting me participate in that last week. We had a great time. As you can imagine, with 5 organizers in the house, there were bags of supplies and tools all over the place. Everybody brought their own work bags with them, and we borrowed stuff from each other as the job went on. We also made a couple of trips to the Container Store, which was just down the street from where we were. So we added the organizers and containers that we needed as the job progressed. We managed to cover everything needed from our kits, which was wonderful, including a little bit of installation. Amy replaced a broken broom rack, one of those things that mounts on the wall that you can stick broom handles in.
Right.
We replaced one of those in the utility room. We used museum gel to stabilize some displayed glass art pieces. We installed labels in the kitchen and the closets and the bathroom. We used a soft mallet, a mallet tool, to help us change the height of some of the shelves in the kitchen and the closet, because the contractor just puts it all up and slaps the shelves in. They don't really pay any attention.
Right.
But we needed to adjust them for some of the contents of their stuff. So we went in there with the mallet and moved shelves around and pulled pins in and out and, did all kinds of stuff to make the shelves work better. We needed box cutters for the unpacking, of course, and I did use some of the client Ziplocs at the job. I'm telling you that as an example of how we reached into our work bags as the job went on, letting us get everything completely done so it was ready to start living in right away. And that's the joy and beauty of a good organizing work bag. It lets you totally set something up without interruption or delay or another shopping trip. And it's very satisfying when you can do that. So as a point of reference for you, anybody who cleans their own home has a little bin or a bucket with a handle where they store the usual products and supplies that they like to use to clean with. And the bin gets stored somewhere out of sight, and then you grab it when it's time to start the housework. A cleaning supply bucket or a bin keeps whatever you need right there, ready to go as you tackle your cleaning projects. And it's easy to move it around with you from place to place as you clean. So you can create the same kind of kit for your organizing projects too, just like we have on client jobs. You can pull together some basics that are useful to any decluttering project, put them in a bin or a box or a bag, store them when they're not in use, and pull them out anytime you're going to tackle an organizing task. Whether you're working a long-term decluttering project over many months, or you're doing regular maintenance tasks, an organizing toolkit can support your work and help you get those things done. So what should be in that toolkit? Well, I'm going to give you a long list of options. And as he said, we're going to, make that list available to you in the show notes as well. It's not intended to be a kit to cover all the possibilities of all the jobs you might have to do. But instead, it's a collection of things that would help you with almost any organizing task. It's going to cover generally, I would say, 90% of your needs. And then when you have an extra, a fancy project, you might have to add a little bit. First, let's start off with the container. You need a box with a lid or a bucket with a handle. That would work. Maybe you have an old portable toolbox you're not using, or a heavy canvas bag, or a tote, or a duffel bag. Remember, you want to carry it from room to room, so don't aim for a huge, big old box. You want something manageable and something that's easy to carry when it has stuff in it. If you have a file box on wheels, that would work too. Office Depot made those file boxes that had collapsible sides that would fold up flat, but it would pop up and make a box, and then had a telescoping arm on wheels so you could roll it around. Something like that would work too. Once you've picked the container that you want, then let's fill it up. You're going to have a collection of small reusable tools and then some useful supplies. So there's really like two lists in here. I'm going to start out with, however, I'm going to start out with what not to include in your toolkit first. These are things that you don't need to carry around on a regular. Don't stock up on storage containers and bins. I know you'll have the urge to go shopping and buy all kinds of organizing products, but it's better to buy them as the need emerges and you've gotten through a space to see what you actually need to use. If you pre-stock a whole bunch of organizing supplies, then you're just going to have a storage problem of where you're going to put all these containers that you're going to buy. So concentrate on waiting for shopping until you've done some organizing work. You've done your keep toss choices. You've figured out how much and where something's going to go. And then you can go and make very targeted decisions about what containers to buy. In that big house that we did, there were some containers and storage options in the packing that we unpacked. So we used what was there already. And then there were some things that got traded out, like there was lined jewelry drawers in the closet where she had had her jewelry in containers before. And so we took them out of the containers and put them into the new lined jewelry drawers that had, jewelry felt in them. And so then she had these containers that she didn't need. So we ended up using them somewhere else for something else. So we used what we had already as we matched the things to the house. And then there were a few things that we had to go out and buy. But it wasn't very much. For a house that large, we didn't have a crazy shopping spree that we had to do. We probably ended up buying 20 things, 20 various containers that we used in other places in the house, which for a house that large is really a fraction of what it could have been.
Right.
If you're working on a paper project that contains a lot of unread mail, if you have a lot of backlog in your filing or piles of paper you don't really know what's in there, don't go buy filing supplies based on the volume of paper that you're starting out with. Wait until you've made your first keep toss pass through the stuff. That's another area where if you look at all the paper, you'll think, oh my God, I need half of the Office Depot in order to manage this.
To contain this
And,
mess.
and no, that's a no. You don't. You need to be throwing that paper away first. So make sure you hold off on all those filing supplies. You also don't need lots of heavy tools. You'll be tempted to grab a whole host of tools in random sizes and weights, but you won't need that most of the time. Leave the majority of the tools in the garage, and we'll discuss the tools that you actually need later. Or next, actually. So the list of reusable tools that you need in your kit are, now we're starting these are things I think should go in. At the top of the list, you won't be surprised to find that I think you need a label maker for very obvious reasons. To lay a trail of where things are and what they are and where they go. I often put labels on things to identify them, on containers to identify what's in the container. And sometimes, depending on where I am in the pantry or in a closet, I will lay down a label that's on a shelf where something's supposed to go, so that when the thing is not there, the space where it's supposed to go is identified. Sometimes you put something down and you label the object, and when you take the object out and walk around the house with it, then it's not obvious where it's supposed to go back. So sometimes if I think the client needs the support, I will put a label down on the shelf itself to show where something gets parked again. You'll find a million reasons for labels. You got to have a pair of scissors. You need to trim the labels you always have to trim edges in the labels. But then you're going to cut out packing parts of the packing material when you store something. Like if you take an object and you shrink it take it out of its packaging and you want to store it in a Ziploc or something, you're going to end up cutting box pieces out to save. Scissors. You need you're going to have scissors. Going to have a million uses, so you have to have a good pair of scissors. You need a box cutter. And I say that because, yes, scissors will work, but a box cutter is easier and faster to break down boxes. And when you have a whole bunch of boxes, you end up ripping your hands up. You end up that cardboard and cutting through those tape and tearing stuff up. You shred your nails, you shred your skin, you dry your hands out like crazy if you have to
Hmm.
manhandle a lot of boxes. So you can just make that easier on yourself physically by using a box cutter. And then don't forget where it is. And don't forget to constantly detract the blade. If
Retracts.
yeah, if you are smart, you will buy one that automatically retracts, which they so that you have to push it forward to get the blade, and then when you let go, it automatically snaps back. I have a ceramic blade that's retractable like that, specifically because I have dropped box cutters that were open before, and there's nothing like a little razor blade in your foot to remind you that you probably need to pay more attention to the box cutter. So we don't want you to have that experience. So, think about that when you're manhandling your box cutter. You need a tape measure. You're going to have to see if an organizing bin will fit in a space or if the product you want to order will fit where you want it to go. Eyeballing online a product and eyeballing the space where you want it to go is a recipe for failure. So you definitely need a tape measure to check those measurements before you start buying stuff. You need a flathead and a Phillips screwdriver because there's always some stupid screw that gets in the way of opening or closing something or has fallen off of something so it isn't working or it needs removing to reposition something. Sometimes you have to loosen screws to get a photo out of a frame you want to discard. There's just a million reasons where you need to get out a screwdriver and deal with that one screw. And so having those two options there just keeps you moving along.
Some some remote controls these days have a little tiny screw that holds
I know.
the plate over the
So you can't
batteries.
change the battery without a
Right,
screwdriver,
without a
right?
screwdriver. Yeah.
Yes, it's
Mhm.
so annoying. 100%. You need furniture sliders, and this is how you can get away with moving furniture a little bit or rearranging things to work better in a room by yourself. It's the difference between the project getting done and you having to wait on someone to come and help you. And I hate being stalled because I can't move something large around. So I use the furniture sliders all the time. Consider your safety, of course. Don't do this if you feel like you can't manage alone safely. But I have used them several times with a client, and they're like, oh my gosh, we can't move that. Oh, yes, we can. Let me get my sliders out. And the two of us can push on something and move it from wall A to wall B. Or we can bring it forward 4 inches. Or we can, pivot it 90 degrees or whatever. We can make adjustments so that it works better in the room. And I don't have to hire movers to come and move it. I can just lift it up and put the sliders under, and it makes it easier to manage. So it helps me not get thwarted when I'm trying to fix something. You always want to bring your smartphone with you. I wouldn't, of course, you're not going to leave your
You're
smartphone
not
in
going
your
to keep it in the
toolkit.
box, right?
Yes, but you need to bring it along because you're going to take pictures, you're going to make notes, you're going to look up products, you're going to have checklists. There's a million reasons why you want to have the smartphone while you're doing your work.
It might serve as your timer.
That too, you might be setting a timer exactly,
If you like to work on timed exercises.
right? If you want to stay focused that way. A handheld vacuum. So I'm thinking of a little tiny, you know, small little vacuumy thing that can pick up a little, like not the one that you would use your whole room for, but one
Right,
that you can,
a gadget vacuum.
yeah, that you can
Yeah.
vacuum the top of a surface, or you can suck some fuzz off of something that's been in the corner for a long time. Just something that quickly and easily sucks up dust that you disturb in your work. So it's small, rechargeable, it's easily carried, it's easy to empty because there's just always something to vacuum up in a hurry. And if you're using this kit in your own home, you might want a grabber too. You know what I'm thinking about? You grab the handle and it has a tooth at the end that moves when you grab it. Particularly if you're working in an area that's really loaded or very dense or stacked pretty high, then the grabber is going to help you get some things down without, falling down or reaching too far or whatever. So if you need a grabber, have one handy. Outside of your container, you're going to need some sorting boxes. So depending on the job, you'll need some random boxes to use for sorting things before you decide how and in what object or container they're going to be stored. So that's part of the keep toss process as you're going through and making piles of these are things I want to keep. This is the stuff that's going to go. You're going to do some sorting as part of that process, and having some containers to just throw that stuff in will just help your job move along. Okay, so that's the
Let,
tool
let's
list.
let's take some comments before we move on to the supply list, and that'll also give you a chance to catch your breath.
Mm,
Um,
sorry.
Connie says, my label maker, in quotes, is painter's crepe, which I can peel off if I change my mind or need to relabel, add on, etc.
And actually, I consider that a preliminary labeling.
Right,
Like you can use painter's tape exactly, so it doesn't stick, it doesn't mess with the finish of anything. But you can make some temporary labels and make sure that because sometimes you put things in a place in the middle of the job, and by the time you get to the end of the job, you've shuffled things around again. And so that happens to me a lot. I start out thinking all of the office supplies will fit in this place. And then by the time I get through the whole room, there's way more there than will actually fit in that spot. And I have to come up with a different spot. So
right.
you can absolutely make temporary labels and then move them around as the collections move until they end up in their final place. And
Yeah.
then you can pull that down and replace it with a good label.
Um,
100%.
the mag says, label maker is so handy, ensures everyone in the house knows where things go. I have labeled
Mm.
all the kitchen cabinets so no one has any reason not to put things where they go.
Right? And I think we forget that we have the landscape in our mind, but our mind does not translate by osmosis to other members of the household.
Right?
And so the labels are your way of transferring that data to them 100%.
M says, mother used chalk to label cardboard boxes. It showed just fine and could be rubbed
Oh,
off when the box was reused for something else.
that's interesting. I'm curious how that would survive over time, but I guess in the move process, if you labeled them and then dusted it off later,
Well,
okay.
it would, I think the
If you
key
put
would
your hand on
probably,
it.
and the key would probably be not moving. We're talking about, I think that works for things in
Oh,
store
oh,
you're
oh, okay.
storing.
Okay,
I
okay.
would,
I
I
see what
would
you're
think,
saying.
if it's going up on a shelf and no, you're not going to be moving it around a lot, not going to be
Mm.
handling a lot. I
Mm-hmm.
could see that working.
Yeah, I've never heard of using chalk. That's an interesting idea.
And Jacqueline added painter's tape and a Sharpie work great if you don't have a label maker.
Mm.
Diane asked, "Will we have this listed on the website?" And we will. We'll post these lists that we're going through right now on the show notes when they go up. Amanda said the screw on the remote is to keep toddlers from opening it and eating the batteries.
Yes,
Very
please.
dangerous for them, though inconvenient for everyone else who knows better. LOL.
100%. Yes, exactly.
MS, what is the largest piece of furniture you have moved alone?
The largest. I have moved bookcases that were taller than me. I have moved a buffet that was much longer than like a really big stout piece of furniture, probably chest high and a big dining room wall piece. And I have lifted up and gotten, feet under it, gotten sliders under it and shoved it around a room. Yes.
M added, my cousin claims to have moved a china cabinet alone and fully loaded using
It
sliders.
is possible, man, because you don't have to tip it very far to get the slider underneath. You just have to be able to lift it enough, one side at a time, to get the slider under there. And once the slider's there, then it's just a matter of you creating the forward motion. You just have to be able to push. And so, yeah, I mean, it can be done.
Laura said, Gail, I've used a blanket to move large furniture. Are sliders better?
I think a blanket is harder to get under the
Right,
furniture. You have to move it more to get the blanket under. The
right.
slider, like you can stand at the end of something, lift up one end an inch, and the slider will go under it with your foot, and you're done. You can put it back down again. So I think it's easier, depending on how close it is to the wall and how heavy it is, and that kind of stuff. I think it's easier. The blanket certainly works, and it prevents the same scratching in the same way. I just think it's harder to get it under there properly.
Okay, let's go on with your next list.
Okay, so now we're going to talk about the supplies that you can use and that you'll be replenishing. So, top of the list is the label maker cartridges, and you can get them in all kinds of sizes and colors, and they're worth ordering in your favorite sizes and colors so the labels are pleasing for you to look at. They don't just have to come black ink on a white label. You can buy colored backgrounds, you can buy colored ink, you can buy black labels with white ink. You can buy clear labels with black ink so that you don't have a white background, you just have a clear background. So you can really customize the label cartridge itself to something that you prefer, and it makes it super easy. If you're one of those crafty people that is into Cricut, you can make labels on the Cricut and have them custom cut. So you can get as crafty as you want about the labels, but if you just have a basic label maker and label maker cartridges that you can order online or you can buy at Office Depot, you just want to have a few there so that you can get it done. I will tell you that a box is usually 25 feet long, and that sounds like a really long amount of labels, but you can blow through that 25 feet in a big hurry when you're trying to put labels all over a house. And you will make mistakes, you'll misspell things, you'll decide it doesn't work, you'll try to put in a label and it won't stick right, or something will go wrong and you'll have to throw one away. And so you will burn through those 25 feet in a big hurry. So I would at least have two cartridges on you all the time. Garbage bags, you're going to create garbage. You think that you're not, except that you do. So we made a huge amount of contractor bags. Like they had those big, heavy plastic contractor bags, and we probably filled up 8 of them. And some of it was packing material, but some of it was unpacking products from their containers. It was all kinds of stuff that, like, it came out of the box and the client was like, why did we bring that? Throw that away. And so there was a lot of trash to be generated from that moving project, and you will find many uses for a garbage bag. So make sure you have some available. Also grocery bags, shopping bags, handle shopping bags or reusable bags. And you can use them for donations and also for relocation. So there's always things that you can let go once you see where those things are in the new space. If you're unpacking or if you are deconstructing a room in your house without moving and rebuilding it, some of the things that come down aren't going to make the cut. They're not going to stay. So you're going to be generating donations as you go. And you may find some things that are, I need it in this room and I'm going to go put it in another room now instead. And so having a bag of, I need to relocate this somewhere else, allows you to collect things that you're then going to pick up and walk around and redistribute in other parts of the house. So you're going to need some bags available. Ziploc bags in a variety of sizes. I live and die by those Ziplocs. So they're great for sorting, and they're easy to put with little small things in particular, but any collection of like things go well in a Ziploc and you can clearly see what it is. Sometimes it's easier, like I said earlier, you can take a product out of the box that it came in and cut out the instructions or the label and store whatever you've got in a Ziploc. And then the box may be hard to store, but the Ziploc bag with the item in it is easier to store. It's more flexible. It can be flatter. And so, the box that they make for you to buy it and for them to ship it in is always a lot more, it's harder to manage than the object on the inside. And so I use Ziplocs to recontain things a lot and make it easier to manage in the house. You're going to need a notepad, Post-it notes, pen, pencil, markers. So all of these are possible for label making. They make quick marking before you're totally sure about what the labeling might be. Also, you might want to be making lists for shopping items as you work. You may be thinking, oh, I need to buy something that does XYZ. I need some more tape. You may be making lists. So it's really helpful if you need temporary labels before the project's complete, or you're making shopping lists and you prefer those lists to be analog instead of digital. So this is the analog way that you can make your list as opposed to doing a list in an app in your phone. Sharpies, you just do not know how many times you weren't going to want to pick up a Sharpie while you're doing this work. So, Sharpies, you got to have some Sharpies. Packing tape for building boxes, you're going to end up building some boxes and thinking, I need to put that in a box and put it in the closet or whatever. So, you'll end up making some cardboard boxes up from flat, and you'll need packing tape for that. Scotch tape or removable tape like painter's tape. You may need temporary signs. You may be attaching labels. You may be making minor repairs. I have done all kinds of, oh, let me fix that, and pulled out the Scotch tape to tape something together. So you'll find uses for it, super glue or Gorilla Glue. For minor repairs that can be made quickly, fix the broken mug, fix the art piece that something snapped off of, fix the random kid's toy. If something broke in a move or because you dropped it 5 years ago, then that one tube of single-use super glue will finish a to-do item that's been waiting for 5 years to get done. They sell you can buy super glue in a larger container, but you never use it fast enough to not have the nozzle be made into a rock from using it. You never get to use the whole thing. So I stopped buying the large ones. I always buy the single use super glues now, which you can pop and, it can fix one or two things, and then you throw it away and you have not wasted all the other super glue that you bought. So Gorilla Glue and super glue both sell in single use containers. So you open it, you use it for the day. When the day's up, you throw it out and you're ready to go. And you will be surprised how many times you pick up something and go, oh yeah, that broke off of there. Where's my super glue? Squirt, squirt, and it's fixed. And so worth it to have it in the bag every time. Museum gel or museum putty. These are a great way to stabilize breakable things on shelves. So the dog's tail or the cat zoomies or clumsy humans like myself don't knock things over and break them. And I speak from experience. Almost all things that are broken in my house have been cat sabotage. So I use museum gel and putty all the time. And we pulled it out at this job this weekend. She had a lot of large glass art that was sitting on glass shelves. And they didn't have a pet, thank goodness. But so we used a lot of museum gel to set that stuff down so that it couldn't be knocked accidentally off the counter. Off the shelf. I will add on this list Velcro cable ties or zip ties. And they're great for strapping loose cables. They can be They can be used on cables that are already plugged in to to pull them together, or they can be used to cable up the loose ones. There's nothing worse than a big wad of loose cables that you have to separate to find out what in the world is in there. If you stop and strap those things, wrap them up and strap them as a bundle so that they're manageable and you can figure out what's in the container, you'll be happy. You'll be much happier. So those Velcro ties or zip ties work really well for that. You are going to want some empty boxes, baskets, or bins. That's the sorting stuff that we talked about. You want to hold sorted contents, or you might want to organize things in a cabinet or a drawer or on a flat surface. So a few little organizing containers, empty containers will be helpful for you as you work on your project.
Gayle, quick question before we get too far away from museum gel. MS, where do you get museum gel or putty?
So I have gotten it from the Container Store. I've also gotten it from a home goods kind of store.
I saw it just now on Home Depot was one of the things that came up
Yeah,
when I
yeah, yeah,
searched.
yeah, yeah.
So
It is a home
hardware
product.
store.
Yeah, all those kind of places. If you just Google museum gel or museum putty, they're two different products. One is a tacky, white, opaque. It looks like silly putty from back in the day. It's all pinchable and usable. The museum putty is for stronger things. Museum gel is literally a gel. It's still tacky. It's still maneuverable. It's very clear, and it works better for glass and small objects that are not super heavy. So I use both of them, and I lean towards putty when I feel like the object is larger or the surface is not as smooth or flat, because the gel sort of settles into it, and like it holds onto it, but it settles like it melts, kind of like a glob that floats down. And the museum putty isn't as viscous as that. It doesn't thin as much. It doesn't flatten as much. And so
Okay.
I think they're just two different versions that work for different weights of things.
Okay.
And you can order, like, it's I'm sure it's an Amazon thing that you can easily get. And Home Depot or Lowe's will have some somewhere.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay, okay. You may want a small quantity of file folders. I would say, 10 for capturing important papers you uncover as you work. So if you're going through an area and you start pulling out and going, oh, I need to keep that. That's an important piece of paper that I randomly found in this closet by accident. Having a folder of things I found that I want to deal with later that's paper it's good to put it in a file folder so that you can grab the file folder and go deal with it later. You don't want to lose it. You don't want to sit it down somewhere in the room to get later. I'm doing that in air quotes. You're going to want to put it aside and you'll end up randomly laying it somewhere and lose it again. So putting it in a file folder that becomes part of your kit and then you can carry it out when you leave means you don't lose it. You're going to want an all-purpose cleaner like 409 or some sort of counter wipe cleaner, Clorox wipes of some kind, paper towels, and microfiber cloths because you're going to have some light cleaning or dusting that you need to do as you deconstruct areas and before you put things back up. So you may want to go in and wipe down, oh, I'm going to dust this surface with the microfiber cloth, or I need to clean that off because it's sticky or it's dirty or whatever. And when you start cleaning out and you realize how much sort of dirt is in between, you're going to want to wipe that down before you start putting everything back again.
Right.
Disposable gloves or rubber gloves will help with that cleaning, especially if you're allergic to dust. If you have any issues with dust at all, you should just get some disposable nitrile gloves and put them on when you start working, and that will keep you from absorbing and touching yourself with dusty fingers too much. So, better choice as you work.
Well, and some people are more sensitive to the chemicals in cardboard boxes than
Mm,
others. And so if you're going to be doing a lot of unpacking, gloves can be a really good idea.
yeah, yeah. And the disposable ones, if they get a rip, throw them away, get another pair. It'll be okay.
Yeah.
An apron or a smock of some kind to keep you from ruining your clothes. You're going to get all kinds of dust and dirt on you as you're doing these projects, and there's a reason why I wear scrubs on my jobs because they're indestructible and they're easily cleaned. Even so, I've ruined some of my scrubs working in garages because there's too many weird chemicals out there, and they're usually leaking and rusting too. But just in general, you end up with dirt, unidentified dirt, and dust, and sometimes rust in the house as you work to clean stuff. And so you're going to end up covered in who knows what, and better to have an apron on that you can pull off and throw into the laundry. The last thing I want to put on the list today is a small bottle of Goo Gone for those random things with stickers on them or sticker residue that's left over that's causing a problem. So Goo Gone can also sometimes clear up a random stain that isn't cleaning up well. You can add a little Goo Gone to something it might clear off something that the regular cleaner's not cleaning away. But there's always some little thing that has a sticker on it, or you try to peel a sticker and you get 3/4 of the sticker, but you can't get the rest. And so Goo Gone is a way for you to solve that problem in a hurry. And it's a good thing to have. And you can buy a little tiny bottle, so you don't have to carry around a big bottle of it. You can just have a little one. Okay. You can be nice to yourself by using some small containers inside your toolkit to hold the smaller items on your list, and that will help your toolkit stay organized too. I don't want you to just take that list and just dump it all into the into the container. So subset a little bit so you can find stuff that you need when you need it. And good luck. It's going to be, if you make this kit happen, you're going to be able to tackle any organizing job just like a pro.
Okay, let's go to some comments and questions. Leslie, who's with us on Facebook, suggested adding a hex key in addition to the screwdrivers.
Oh, you probably need a hex key occasionally. That's true.
Leslie also said, I recently read to wait and make 3 or 4 labels at a time to reduce the waste from cutting them.
That's possible, yes. I mean, the labels front load and back load an amount of label
Right.
that they create a trailing and leading edge. And it always seems like too much. And of course, they're doing that because they want, they sell more label tape that way. But like you said, you can type three or four and have a smaller space in between them. And then when you print it, it's just a matter of cutting between them. You don't have to cut off the leading and trailing edge every time. So it's a way to save some of the tape. Yes.
Let's see. Amanda says, I love wearing gloves to declutter. Cuts down on big paper cuts and keeps the muck off my hands, which in turn
True that.
keeps me from washing my hands so many times that they end up raw.
Well, and if you have a manicure, if you've spent money on a nice manicure, you probably want gloves on just to keep the manicure intact too.
Right?
Fair point.
And M mentions how about a flashlight in the kit for when crawling behind stuff to find the outlet.
I have some organizer friends that have the spelunker version where you wear the strap with the thing on your head so that you can see. It does help. There are moments where you're like, I can't see what's going on down there, and you're bent on your knees, or you've got your head, you know, butt in the air or head on the ground trying to look under something. And yeah, that phone light or a little pin flashlight that you can point and see what's going on could be really helpful. That's true.
Let's see what else we
You
got.
don't need the big, one that you could kill somebody with, the big beanie one. You want a smaller handheld version that's easy to point in tight spaces. Because that's where you'll need them. It's always because it's in a tight space. You can't get maneuver around very well.
Okay, here's a biggie. We've talked about this before, but it's definitely worth returning to. May says, I tend to keep boxes that items came in. How do you break this habit?
Oh, it's the worst. So we do that partially because we think, what if we have to return it? Okay. So within a week or two, you're not whether you're going to return it or not. So that matters for a minute. It matters for a few days, and then it doesn't matter anymore. And some people say, I'm keeping that box for when we move. It's like,
Hmm.
okay, except when are you expecting to move? 10 years from now? Do you really want to keep those boxes for 10 years? That's a lot of aged cardboard that
Right.
is now 10 years old when you go to use it. And I think that reason, there's some logic around maybe the electronics, but nowadays there's so many boxes that can be had that will work for anything special, anything, China, all the breakable stuff. Like it can be done with a regular box. You don't have to keep the actual box itself. And then, for things that are really fancy and expensive, like if you have an art sculpture, then it needs its own custom box anyway. Like it needs somebody to come and crate it in place in order to safely move it. So saving the box that somebody came in is just agreeing to give up some of your usable space for something that you're not going to need for many years. And that's a long time to surrender usable space just to make it just for you to have to go and find those boxes and match them to their object so that you can move them. I
Right.
think it's not a high enough return on investment there.
Right.
It's not a good enough reason to use up the storage space in your house, and it's not a good enough reason to it's you're not going to use it often enough to save something for 10 years that you can replace for $10
Right.
in a
Well,
decade.
May also mentions the example of, she says, I think more about putting them away in the original box when not in use.
That's a
So,
lot of barrier to entry though.
well, like, but what if you use your crock pot twice a year, but you use your crock pot reliably twice a year? Is that something worth putting back in the box to go in storage? I
I
mean,
would
the
not
box,
put it in box in the kitchen. The kitchen can't absorb
right,
that
right.
box.
No,
If
but
you
like
have
if
to
you're
store
storing
it,
your overflow appliances in the basement, in the
yeah,
um
yeah. Okay. I mean,
utility
it keeps the
room.
dust off of it if you want to do that, sure. And you can also make a plastic bin that you can see through and put it in as well. Like
Right,
there's other options as well. If you're just trying to store it elsewhere and protect it from dust or bugs or whatever, depending on where you're storing it, a cardboard box isn't going to help you in Houston in a garage. the roaches are going to eat straight through that cardboard. So you need to be able to put it in something that can actually seal and keep stuff out. Yeah, in certain circumstances, not in the kitchen cabinets, out somewhere else, have it, a kitchen object being stored in its original box. Okay. But that just seems to me like in most cases, I think that's putting it back in its original box is kind of makes putting it away harder.
It's kind of, well, it's overkill too, because the original packaging is designed to get the thing from the factory in China to the shipping container to the,
The
place
semi truck.
to the 18 wheeler to the small distribution truck to the warehouse of the store at
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
distribution center, all that and so on. And you're storing it, on a shelf in your basement. And so,
Right. Yeah. Yeah. The packaging to prevent it from destruction in transit is way more than you need to keep it from breaking in your house on the shelf.
yeah.
Yeah,
Uh,
100%.
Amanda suggests slap on some lotion under those gloves and your decluttering session turns into a mini hand spa.
Oh, there you go. A mini hand spa. That's a great idea. I'll have
Um,
to try that.
JB has a really, really loaded comment here. Let me read this.
Okay.
I keep boxes from my eBay store that I haven't set up yet.
That's the eBay store version of I need to buy all these supplies for this thing that I haven't started yet. Like I'm going to do this thing, therefore I need to go shopping. Like that's just the box version of that.
JB goes on to say, house is a cardboard jungle.
Yeah, if your house is a cardboard jungle, you need to let that go. You need to let it go because more boxes are coming and you know that you can break down all those boxes in your house and keep 5 boxes. And if and when the eBay store actually is up and running, you will be receiving cardboard boxes, or you can go and ask your friends or family for cardboard boxes and they can appear. Or you can go to the liquor store and get boxes. Like there are boxes to be had in the universe,
Well,
and
and
you don't have to be the keeper of those boxes.
in the Houston area, there is a store called Half Price Boxes that
Mm,
has cardboard boxes in every size under the sun, and
exactly.
they're
Ready
pretty
to go.
and they're pretty cheap.
And the thing about an eBay store is you're not going to ship a whole bunch of things all at once. You're going to ship one thing at a time
Right.
to one customer at a time. So the idea that you need 100 boxes to prepare for that, no, no, you don't. When you are selling 100 things a week, then we can have a different conversation. But until then, I think 5 boxes is enough and the rest can go on about their happy business into
Okay,
the
here's
recycle bin.
from one more argument from the pro box side. Jacqueline says, I keep the waffle iron in the box in the kitchen because it makes it stackable. And
Okay.
and that that's a good
if you're
argument.
having if you're having
Yeah.
cabinet storage issues and that makes you able to put something on top of the waffle iron, okay. And then I
Yeah.
would ask the follow-up question, which is, do you have too much stuff in your kitchen cabinets? Like maybe that's
Yeah.
telling you the fact that you need to stack that stuff double high is telling you that you have too many objects in there for the size of kitchen that you have.
Yeah.
Just a thought.
Okay, we are just about out of time, so we
Oh,
need to move on. Let's talk about the coming weeks. We've made a slight change in the schedule. We have been telling you for months that we would have our next book club episode on February 24th, but uh I've gotten a few emails from audience members who've had trouble finding the book, or trouble getting their hands on a library copy and so on. And frankly, Gail and I could both use the extra time, so we're going to move this one back 2 weeks to March 10th. So that's the new date of the book club meeting, March 10th. Next week, we're going to talk about various short topics that have come up in our survey responses. For example, how do you go about breaking down a deceased loved one's craft room? We're going to answer that one and several other short topics next week, February 17th. And then on February 24th, we're going to talk about organizing your tax paperwork to get ready for tax season, where in areas where that is
Hiss.
coming up.
Hiss.
Yes.
I used to be an accountant, but taxes make me want to scream just like everybody else.
Okay, Gail, why don't you give us the tittle?
Okay, this week's weekly tittle is assemble or revamp your toolkit. This week's assignment is to assemble your decluttering or organizing toolkit if you don't already have one, or to refresh your existing toolkit. We're going to post a list of suggested tools and supplies in the show notes for this episode, and you can find that at cfhou.com/TCFW for the Clutter Fairy Weekly 292. TCFW 292. Meaning show number 292. Can you believe that?
Right?
If you haven't already created a cool toolkit for decluttering or organizing projects, then follow the guidance we offered in this week's webcast to collect and contain the tools and supplies to support your projects. Consult our list of suggested tools to get you started and customize the toolkit to include items geared towards your specific projects and needs. There's no need to add things into your toolkit that you're never going to use. So, like if you are there's no way I'm moving furniture by myself. I'm never installing those. I'm never going to use those sliders. Then don't put sliders in your kit. So you customize them for what you will actually use. And if you've already assembled a kit, now's a good time to give it a refresh. So evaluate everything you put in the toolkit before. Remove stuff you don't use or don't like to use anymore. Replenish the consumable materials that are running low. And take a look at our list for suggestions of items that you might consider adding to your toolkit now. And if the container that holds your toolkit is too big or too small for the items you've collected, it might be time to upgrade your container to something better. One of the girls this past week had a toolkit that was heavy canvas tool bag with pockets on the side that was designed to carry tools around the house, but it was canvas with a handle and all these little side pockets. And so it would stand up on its own when it was sitting on the ground, but it was easy to reach in to grab stuff because it was all just open. And so I thought I had not seen one like that before. I have bags that stand up, like a canvas bag, and then I have boxes of Ziplocs and other things. So everybody has something different, right? But I thought that open canvas tool tote was a good idea.
Well, you always made a lot of use of the big IKEA bags, those big blue IKEA handle bags
Yes,
for
100%.
hauling off donations.
I do. It was a way for me to fling things and to get it in and out of my car easier. I think
Right.
the biggest mistake people make about donations is they find the biggest box they can and they start filling it with stuff to donate, and then they can't pick it up and it's super hard to get it in the car. Like sometimes the opening to the door will not take the cardboard box square. You can't put it through because the doors aren't actually a square. When you go to open it, the opening is not a shape of a square. So super annoying. So I do use a lot of reusable bags and IKEA bags to take donations off, and it makes it much easier to stack and haul in my car.
All right, we are out of time. If you're watching this on YouTube, we'd love for you to join us live. To get notifications about upcoming events, we invite you to join the meetup group by visiting
Meetup.
cfhou.com/meetup. You can also follow us on Facebook by visiting cfhou.com/Facebook, or join our mailing list by visiting cfhou.com/subscribe. We love to hear from you, so please keep your comments, questions, and topic suggestions coming on YouTube, Facebook, or anywhere that you find us. You can always reach us through our website at clutterfairyhouston.com.
Thanks, you guys, for joining us today. We appreciate you so much. I missed you guys last week. It was hard, and I told my friend Sarah, thank you so much for letting me come and join your team. And I did not do the podcast so that I could help you, and she was quite shocked by that. So I appreciate you guys letting me go play and have fun. But I did miss you, and I'm glad to be back. We'll see you next week.
Bye bye.
Bye.